What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Welcome to the Watchtower podcast, the non-Jehovah's Witness Watchtower podcast. And this is episode 150. 150. Can you believe we've done 150 of these? I mean, honestly. Man, I can't believe we've done 150 of these things. So glad you guys could be here, though. This is episode 150, Inner Development Goals. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Sustainable Development Goals, but something going on under the radar that people might not be aware of is the Inner Development Goals. And so we're going to be talking about that. What is it? How are they connected to the Sustainable Development Goals? And all the jazzy jazz that goes around with that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So thank you guys for joining me today. Hopefully you guys are having a good Tuesday. I can't believe it's Tuesday. It's been a crazy couple days. It feels like it's Thursday. Plus with the time change, now it always feels like it's later than it is. I am all over the place, but I'm here and we're good. So if this is your first time here, this is what we do on Tuesdays and Saturdays. We get together, we watch for the signs of the return of our Lord Jesus Christ. And I don't know about you guys, but me personally, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to be in his presence, that's for sure. But because we are still here, we need to be busy in the Lord's work. And we are commanded as this wonderful, blessed generation, because 'tis the season of the rapture. We don't know exactly when, but we know it's the season. And so we are commanded to do two things: warn people of what is coming and get people to Jesus. So that's what we do on Tuesdays and Saturdays. So good to see you guys. Glad that y'all are here. And so let's see what you guys are up to, because I want to see your beautiful, I would say faces, but I'll just go with profile pictures because that's all I can really see. That would be kind of creepy if I could see your actual faces. Then we might have a problem. But no, I can only see your faces. So let's see here. Let's just start here. Why not? Start with April. How you doing, April? Hopefully you're having a good Tuesday. Glad you're here. Good to see you. Hopefully things are going well for you. Looks like Coco Bear is here, so the pizza has arrived. If you guys need some pizza, go talk to Coco. She's got it in the back. Let's see here. We've got Asset. What's going on? Hopefully you're having a good Tuesday. Glad to see you. Hopefully everything is going all right for you, so it's good to see you. Pamela is here as well. Good to see you, Pamela. Hopefully this Tuesday is good for you. Glad you're here. Glad you could spend some time here. Hannah, what's going on? Hopefully you're having a good Tuesday. Thank you for being here. Hopefully you're having a good one as well. Terry is here as well. Good to see you, Terry. Let's see here. Lavera, good evening. Wretched. What'd you call me? No, it's true. It's true. We're all wretched. That's why we need Jesus, right? That's why. Mindy, what's going on? Going up soon. Yes, I pray and I hope. And I'm ready to go. That's for sure. We've got the lovely Loof. Good to see you, Carly. Hopefully you're feeling all right. Not of This World is here as well. Good to see you. Looks like Kim is here as well. Asset's got a dog that's scared, I guess. Hopefully the dog is okay. Be Rich, what's going on? 150. I know. I can't believe it either. It's crazy. And let's see. Caterlin's here. There's so much going under the radar going on. Yeah. Yes, there is. Pretty much all the eyeballs in the world are focused on one thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but at the same time, people seem to have lost track of some of the other stuff that's going on. So that's why we're covering some of that. But if you guys need cookies, Caterlin is the one to see. And let's see here. Looks like we've got Katie as well. Happy 100. Well, thank you. Thank you. Good to see you guys. If I don't pick you out, it's not that I don't like you. We'd just be here forever going through everybody, and I don't think everybody wants to sit here through that. But I'm glad every single one of you is here, so it's good to see you. All right. Let's see. Before we get into everything, we got housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
No, thank you. Sleeping.
Housekeeping?
All right. So for housekeeping, usual spiel, if you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views. It's not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. like I said in the beginning, that is what we're commanded to do. And without technology works, liking and sharing and subscribing, even commenting on videos and stuff helps get it out there. That's how the algorithm works. And then sharing it with people that's always good too. So if you guys can like, share, subscribe, it helps get the word out to people. Also follow me, Rumble, Odyssey, Telegram. Those are my backup channels. Rumble will be my backup streaming channel. If I get booted off YouTube for any reason, we'll be live streaming over there. So make sure you follow me on there. Odyssey is just kind of an emergency platform. Hopefully we never have to use it, but it is there. So if you got an account, you might as well go and follow me there. Also, Telegram. If I get booted off YouTube, can't really let you know on YouTube. So I will let you guys know on Telegram what's going on and where I'll be doing things from there. I also post other things, updates to things, news updates, and anything in between. I throw it on there as well. And so, yeah, make sure you guys follow me on Telegram. Also, if the Lord placed it upon your heart, I have donation links down below. As you guys know, this channel is not monetized, and so I run strictly off of your donations. So if you would like to partner up and help me out with that, I truly thank you for that. And I got links down below. All right, that's it. That's all I got for housekeeping. Not a whole lot to clean up, thankfully, because I hate cleaning. I don't know about you guys. But yeah, so what we do on Tuesdays, for the regulars, I'm sure you guys know, but just in case you're new, we keep track of natural events. And I'm not some huge expert in this. I just like to keep track of the larger earthquakes, as well as how many volcanoes are actively erupting at the same time around the earth. As we know, these things will play a part in the birth pains of the end times, and they're going to increase in size and frequency. So I just like to keep track of that. And so this past week, for larger earthquakes is 5.5 and up. We don't really discuss anything lower unless it's something crazy, which should come to our attention. But just 5.5 and up. We got a 6.1 in Kupang, Indonesia, 5.7 in Hernani, Philippines, 5.7 in the Pacific Antarctic Ridge. There's a 5.7 in the Humla. That's always fun to say. I like that. Humla, Nepal. 5.7 in Isengel, Vanuatu. 5.5 in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Then there's a 5.5 in Aki, Solomon Islands, and a 5.6 in Saipan, Northern Mariana Islands. So we got some earthquakes, but it's kind of slowed down the past couple of weeks compared to that 1 week, which was just absurd. As far as volcanoes, there are 46 volcanoes actively erupting around the world right now. We are down one from last week. We got 7 in North America, 6 in South America, 2 in Europe, 3 in Antarctica, 4 in Africa, 16 in Asia. That's adding 1 from last week, and then 8 in Oceania. That's subtracting 2 from last week. So 2, 1, 46. Yeah, you got it. I'm not going to teach math. I'm the last person you want to teach math. Okay. All right, so we went through all that. You guys ready to get into this? What on earth are the inner development goals? And I'll tell you what, they're not good. Just, all right, podcast over. Yeah, we did it. Yep, they're not good. Anyways, so let's get into this. Again, I'm sure everybody has heard of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by this point. If you haven't, you really should probably crawl out of that rock that you've been underneath, but no harm, no foul. But if you don't know the goals, there are 17 goals set by the leading unelected elites built to produce an outcome that basically equates to a new age religion, a one world government, a one world economy, and basically creating a beast system type of government. My opinion is we're seeing things heading towards a neo-feudalistic technocracy. I've explained that in the past, not necessarily going to explain it now. But basically those goals are there to help guide the world into that direction, which all of that has to do with that Antichrist beast system. And if you don't know the Antichrist beast system, you can lay it out into 3 pillars, which is described in Revelation, which is the one world economy, the one world government, and then the one world religion. So let's do a little history. You guys know me. I love going back in history. Come back in time with me, if you will. If we head back to 1992 to the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, we'll find 178 countries that adopted a document called Agenda 21. And basically, Agenda 21 is described as a comprehensive plan of action to build partnership for sustainable development to improve lives and protect the environment. I didn't describe it that way. That's how they described it themselves. Obviously, we know that that is a load of baloney, but that's how they describe it. It was rooted in the Club of Rome's philosophy of addressing interconnected global challenges facing humanity, such as climate change, resource depletion, and social inequality. Again, that's their words of description, not mine. I'm just letting you guys know how it was described. So, the very same who were part of the Club of Rome were also designers of the UN's Agenda 21, both containing men who adhere to New Age or New Thought beliefs. They were part of the Freemasonry occult, as well as they were part of other occultic traditions. Now, we've been kind of breaking that down a little bit in that End Times New Age series, going over who these people are, what they believe, and how that's been basically that's what they're force feeding into these plans. We've also talked about how Revelation 17, Mystery Babylon, the whore of Babylon, she's the one that rides the beast in. She's the one that rides the beast system. So all of the things that we see being created towards this beast system, some people want to say it's communism. Again, I think it's something else much worse than communism. Communism is basically going to be like a birthday party compared to that. But basically, it's this new religion. First of all, it's mystery religion that's guiding everything. She's riding it in. And then, as we know, the Antichrist is then going to come up, take her out, and it's going to be the one world religion that worships him. So, all of the things that we see happening, specifically with these SDGs, all of the wonderful letter organizations, UN, WEF, BIZ, all these other ones, they all are somehow intertwined with this mystery religion. And so things like climate change and social inequality and all this stuff, that's why it's so on par with that belief. And so the club and the UN and stuff all have that influence in there because of the men who did it. In 1972, the club released a book called, when I say the club, I'm talking about the Club of Rome, just in case. The club released a book called The Limits to Growth. So if we take a look at this thing, this was 1972. And it says, the message of this book still holds today. The Earth's interlocking resources, the global system of nature in which we live, probably cannot support present rates of economic and population growth much beyond the year of 2100. If that long, even with advanced technology. In the summer of 1970, an international team of researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology began a study of the implications of the continued worldwide growth. They examined the 5 basic factors that determine and in their interactions ultimately limit growth on this planet: population increase, agricultural production, non-renewable resource depletion, industrial output, and pollution generation. The MIT team fed data on those live factors into a global computer model and then tested the behavior of the model under several sets of assumptions to determine alternative patterns for mankind's future. The limits to growth is the non-technical report of their findings. This book contains a message. Oh, that's cute. The book contains a message of hope as well. Man can create a society in which he can live indefinitely on Earth if he imposes limits on himself. This is where we start seeing that Agenda 21, the SDGs and stuff coming in. Specifically, we'll see it with the inner development goals as well. Indefinitely on Earth if he imposes limits on himself and his production of material goods to achieve a state of global equilibrium with population and production in carefully selected balance. There's now, again, if you've been a part of the End Times New Age series, whenever you see the word balance, that's usually a red flag word, flashing red siren going on around it. So I'm sure some of you have heard about that meeting that happened where they were talking about the computer statistics and they were talking about other stuff. I've played videos even from that meeting in the past. We don't have time to go over that, but we've talked about it. Now, this book, Limits to Growth, was the blueprint to the Agenda 21 document, the SDGs, and to 1971's European Management Forum, which then changed names in 1987 to the World Economic Forum. So that's something else to keep in mind. It was 1971, European Management Forum was formed. That was Klaus Schwab. He was a professor at the time. And then in 1987, it changed names to what we know it now as the WEF. In the club's book, it states that, and this is a quote, states that they will encourage the creation of a world forum. I'll say that again. They will encourage the creation of a world forum where statesmen, policymakers, and scientists can discuss the dangers and hopes for the global system without the constraints of formal intergovernmental negotiation. Mission accomplished. And it even says it on the WEF's terms of use right there at the very beginning. World Economic Forum is an independent international organization committed to improving the state of the world by engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas. It's basically the exact same thing. It is committedly neutral and impartial with no political, partisan, or rational interest. So I had to read that part out because it's always comedy, in my opinion. You know, that's also a load of baloney. If you got investments in Oscar Mayer, you're going to make some good money tonight. I'll tell you what, because there's a lot of baloney. But seriously, if you look at this, the club, they created the forum. The book was made after basically was used to design the Agenda 21 as well as the SDGs and the forum. It all is just completely interconnected. It's all the same people. And it's just the club. And when I say the club, I mean the elite club, not necessarily the Club of Rome, even though the Club of Rome is in the elite club. You understand what I'm saying. But we see how there really is a club. And I mean, it was most famously put by George Carlin, where he said, "We're not in it. There's a club, but we're not in it." So we've got all that. Now, if we jump ahead to 1991, the Club of Rome, released a book called The First Global Revolution. This one, they blatantly tell you what they did and what they are doing, but nobody's listening to it. So in 1991, The First Global Revolution book was published, which tells us exactly everything that we know, but it comes to us in plain black and white. So if we take a look at this, this is a quote directly from the book. It says, "In searching for a new enemy to unite us." Yeah, that's exactly what you think it means. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. They're telling you that they made this up because they needed an enemy to unite in order for this to work. In their totality and in their interactions, these phenomena do constitute a common threat which demands the solidarity of all people. But in designating them as the enemy, we fall into the trap about which we have already warned, namely mistaking symptoms for causes. All these dangers are caused by human intervention, and it is only through changed attitudes and behavior that they can overcome. Here we go. The real enemy, then, is humanity itself. This is published from the Club of Rome. They blatantly tell you they came up with a problem in order to unite together against a common enemy, and that common enemy is us. They blatantly tell us. But that's conspiracy theory, right? Well, if you look it up on Wikipedia, that's what it tells you. Wikipedia. Yeah, okay. But they tell us. So, we got a little bit of history. Agenda 21, the UN, SDGs, WEF, Club of Rome. They created a problem. They designated us as the enemy. They got everything ready to go and all on track. So we got a little history on all that stuff. So what on earth are the inner development goals? Because I know a lot of people, when I was looking this up, people were like, well, they're just the sustainability goal. No, they're different. They are different. They have to do with that, but it is a different thing. So Agenda 21 eventually became Agenda 2030. at the 2015 UN Sustainable Development Summit in New York. And that is when the first 17 goals were codified for action and implementation. We've seen how these goals have been driving forces in the area of healthcare, ESG, social justice, education, etc., etc. Companies, corporations, schools, and governments have been conforming to meet these goals, but that was only one phase for implementation. So we've seen this before. We've seen the ESG stuff. We've seen the DEI stuff. We've seen how all these companies and whatnot, even though they're losing all this money, they continue to push out social justice and alphabet and climate and all these type of things. So they've got the corporations. They've got those. But that doesn't necessarily get to us. Now, they've been going after the schools, we understand that, but there's still an entire group of people like you and I who haven't been affected by the schooling. How are they going to get us? That is what they're trying to achieve. Eventually, they would need to conform, while societies on a personal level and inner level must go along with these goals. School indoctrination isn't enough. They need to get people like us. And they're doing it through the companies and corporations, not through the ESG like we've been seeing. No, they're doing it on the inside to their employees. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And I want you guys to say hello to the inner development goals.
The inner development goals show what inner shifts or human growth needs to happen in order for us to increase our chances of reaching the Sustainable Development Goals collectively.
The inner development goals covers 23 skills that are divided into 5 categories. Skills such as inner compass, openness and learning mindset, self-awareness, presence, sense-making, connectedness, humility, co-creation skills, trust and perseverance.
We need to sort of focus more inwards, and what is my responsibility in that? What can I contribute to a development that is more sustainable? But in order to be able to reach those sustainability goals, we need to also be able to take the right decisions to get there.
And I think where we are today, perhaps, is we've hit a limit to purely technocratic external solutions to solve global problems. Mental health and well-being is supported by our inner capacities for spirituality and faith, where education is fundamentally oriented towards meaning and purpose in a changing world, rather than mere content delivery for students.
Teaching a course like Global Challenges at Stockholm School of Economics, I realize more and more that we cannot reach the sustainability goals if we do not work with our inner development. This does not apply only to universities. This applies to all sectors, all ages.
What we really need is a deliberately developmental society. And depending on how severe you think the situation is, maybe we need a deliberately developmental world. And right now, we're not even talking about at scale the inner dimensions and how we need to change. Because at the core, we are the problem. The way that we're acting in the world and the way that we are solving problems is the problem.
I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address those problems. But I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with those, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation.
We bring now the inner development goals with us as a great source of inspiration when we strengthen and revise our competence development roadmaps and make sure that the inner development goals are integrated into this.
To make the world work better requires highly specialized skills, very useful, but quite high-level skills. And so what we want to say to people is, yes, it's great that you want to help make the world work better, but you have to get into training.
All right. So, yeah, there's a few things I'm sure you guys could point out from that. First of all, they're talking about inner development. They're talking about from a religious, a spiritual level. So we've been going all over that on the End Times New Age. So we're not going to necessarily, we'll touch on that a little bit, but we're not going to necessarily dive deep into that because that's a whole nother thing. But you see, there is that spiritual factor. Like I was talking about before, you look at mystery religion, you look at Revelation 17, it is a huge component to bringing all of this stuff together, is that spiritual level stuff, is the mystery religion. So you see that element there. They're talking about training. This is what the inner development goals are about. It's about training us, and they're going to go through corporations on all this stuff. That's what we're going to talk about today. And there's some other stuff on there that I'm sure guys can point out. They talked about how we are the problem and stuff like that. You're seeing that teaching of the Club of Rome where they created us, the enemy, coming through on this. It's all there. So if you guys want to kind of go through and see all that stuff, check out the rewind on that. So IDG, which is inner development goals, it's just shorter than saying that all the time. So the IDGs was created in 2019 with a working partnership between the United Nations, corporations, and schools, specifically colleges. It was designed by globalists and elites from the New Division, 29K, and Excurate, which I always think that's funny because to me it sounds like excrement, which really is what all this is. Anyways, you know what I mean. But Excurate. They assembled on Excurate Island in Stockholm to discuss how to transform individuals to not only go along with the SDGs, but to believe in them from thought to action to spirituality. All three founding groups are heavy hitters of advancing the SDGs and are partnered with the UN, and all three are also based in Sweden. So let's have a quick look at these three groups just so we can have an understanding of who all is behind this and where they come from. So first up is Excurate here. I'm going to have to really tell myself to not say excrement. I'm sorry. Excurate. Let's just go with that. Stay on focus, Zach. Here we go. It says, it might be a little small. I'll read it for you guys. It says the mission of the Excurate Foundation is both to make sense of the world we create and allow brave spaces for people to explore and work on their inner growth. Studies shows that having a safe place, I hate that phrase. Having a safe place in connection to nature where we dare to challenge ourselves can act as important catalysts for the process for personal development. We supports and contributes to these brave places by creating contexts and locations for transformative learning where skills can be developed to better handle the rapid change and the constantly increasing complexity of our world, skills that increase our capacity for deeper understanding and wisdom, which then engages individuals to become active. And if you guys have been watching my End Times New Age series, this is a red flag word: active co-creators in the world we create. There's your spiritual spot right there. But basically, it's all about inner development, becoming one with nature. This is that positivity, this new age, new thought process. That's what this group is all about. Let's go check out New Division. Let's check out New Division because they call themselves agents of sustainability. Oh, isn't that wonderful? The New Division, Agents of Sustainability. In 2015, we created, that's right, this is what this group does. This is about the communication level of getting these SDGs online. So these guys are important. It says in 2015, we, the New Division, created the communication language up for the UN Sustainable Development Goals. 2 years later, we translated the 169 targets, the driving force of the agenda. I love how they call it an agenda too, into a comprehensive communication system. In reality, we turned sustainability into a periodic table. These guys are bad news, but very important to all of this. Today, we are a growing consultancy. By combining our deep knowledge of sustainability, communication, and design skills with business strategy and active initiatives, we are accelerating the transformation to a sustainable future. All right. So we've got a new age philosophy type group where you look inner self and pull the best you out. Just got to go with the Joel Osteen, live your best life now. And then we've got New Division, who was working with the UN and basically created the talking points, the communication level of these sustainable development goals. Now, who's 29K? This is the third group that helped found this thing. Who's this? Your Inner Development App and Supportive Community. They created an app about how to fix anxiety and how to improve your motivation. And it's the mind over matter type of group. And again, that comes straight from the New Age, New Thought type of stuff. But basically, 29K is a nonprofit organization and community on a mission to make personal growth available for everyone for free. Now, we're not going to read all of that, but I want to look at the box. It says why we do it. For the greater good. Man, whenever you hear that, the first thing that pops into my head is cult. The second thing that pops into my head is communism. For the greater good. We need to strengthen people and people's ability to create healthy environments around themselves for others. Or basically, let me translate this for what they actually mean. You need to have better positive energy and heart rhythm, better vibes for the nature and people around you. That's what that actually means. There's more New Age involved with that. We think that's probably one of the most important things to do globally today, and we believe that it's through inner sustainability and inner growth that we can navigate and build a more sustainable society. So just a little thing. The reason why Excret and 29K sound so familiar is they were both founded by the same guy. So that's also something to keep in mind. So their focus is to use schools and corporations to feed these inner development indoctrination points into their students and workers, into their employees, in order to get people to follow along with the SDGs. So this entire thing is about creating a system to get to the older crowd, because they're already getting this involved with the schools for the younger crowd, the SEL curriculum and all that stuff. So they're trying to get it to us through corporations to get people to follow along with the SDGs. We can see this in a video conference. I got a little video here from one of their conferences about this strategy being played out about getting this into companies. Now, this is about a 2-minute video. It's a couple of videos that are put together, but seriously, listen to this because you can see who's on board and how they're doing this. This is important. Check this out.
Our theory of change has been that who has the resources to do this, to really not just train like a top leadership of leaders who can do this work, but to see that everybody has to do this work. Our thinking, who has the resources to do this, not just for the top leadership, but for everybody. And we say, of course, it's countries, and we want to work with countries, and it's organizations. So we have teamed up with some of the most progressive companies in the world, and you recognize many of these companies: IKEA, Spotify, Ericsson, Google, and so on. And they have said that we will support this initiative with sponsoring it, but we will also train all our employees in this. And of course, a big company like IKEA, have 150,000 employees, is a huge impact. And then some companies had also said that we will not just support this and train our employees, but we will also work to spread this in society. And I could give you lots of examples of this, but then I would have to kill you. And since I was, in an accident last week, I don't want to do that. So we're now talking to Apple, who said, we would like to have this in every iPhone. It will take us 1 or 2 years to work the internal bureaucracy, but, we will get there. Our thinking was that if we want to buy in from countries and companies, that we really need to do this work, then it has to be firmly rooted in science. So we teamed up with a number of universities, first Swedish university, like Stockholm University, Stockholm School of Economics, and Lund University, and then also international, Harvard, Erasmus, Paris University, and now Danish Technical University.
So what they're talking about here, they gave some examples. You have all these huge companies coming on board, not only to partner with and support these inner development goals and the SDGs, but now they're coming out saying they're going to take this stuff and start force feeding it and training their employees to follow along with it. You see how they're trying to get this in? If you want to work for this company, if you want to have the job that we're going to offer you, which all these companies have hundreds of thousands of jobs. I mean, you look at they're talking about Apple, they're talking about Google and Ericsson and stuff. In order to work here, you're going to have to go through training. Basically, you're going to have to get indoctrinated with this stuff to make sure that your values will go along with the SDGs and the IDGs. Then they talk about with Apple, where they're going to start putting it on everybody's iPhones. They're just going to put it in there. And we've seen some stuff over the past year, a couple years, where they're Apple's just randomly putting stuff on their phone about SDGs and stuff like that. I'm sure some of you have heard about that just recently. All of a sudden they look on their phone and they've got an SDG app and stuff like that. But they're doing that as well. Then you can see at the end they're talking about the colleges that they're putting it into as well. So they're trying to get it into the higher learning, which colleges there's no learning there. But that's what they're working on. They're trying to get this stuff into our group now. So by having these companies on board to brainwash employees, they push for the push for this extends beyond the children and into an older and broader group. And this is being done through the initiative of the P3, or also known as the Public-Private Partnership, which is a program which was done by the UN and the WEF. Let's see here. And it's being done through this. This is P3. This is your public-private partnership and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And it goes in light of a cautious emphasis given to public-private partnerships, or P3, as a mechanism to finance infrastructure projects, and highlighting the need for capacity building and knowledge sharing at the Third International Conference on Financing for Development in Addis Ababa, which they're one of the groups that was involved with establishing these things for the UN. This paper reviews the extant literature on the subject and identifies areas requiring better understanding and institutional innovation for ensuring value for money, minimizing contingent fiscal risk, and improving accountability. So what they're talking about is what we've been seeing with the ESGs. If you want strong financing, if you want to be fiscally sound and be a part of this new development that we're putting in place, you're going to need to sign up and be a part of this corporatism. That's what it is. It's corporatism, or you might know it as another word, an F word, which we'll get to in just a second. With these programs in effect, corporations like Spotify have started requiring training that assesses each employee's values. So if you want to work at Spotify, you have to be a part of this 3-hour training, which will assess if your values match up with the SDGs or not. I kid you not, they are rolling this out, and they will compare them to the SDGs and IDGs to see if they align. So if we take a look, here's just a quick snapshot from their 2022 Equity and Impact report from Spotify. This is directly from Spotify. And some of the things that they are training their employees in include climate action, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, mental health, civic and community engagement, responsible business and government, as well as reporting principles and data. And it just keeps going. Focus areas, talking about the climate action and on equity and all this stuff. It's absolutely insane, but this is a part of the IDGs, because Spotify is partnered up with the IDGs, and they are partnered up utilizing the P3 program, which is designed by the UN and the WEF, And they are now putting this into action for anybody who wants to work at Spotify. And more and more and more companies are jumping on board with this. So this isn't just at ESG for companies to get money from investors like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. No, this is about now training good little worker soldiers, good little peasants that will go along with what they want. This creates a system that folds corporations into government. And that system is known as corporatism, or better yet, corporativism. And it's nothing new, and it's even been promoted by one of the greatest fascists. And when I say greatest fascist, I don't mean good guy. What I mean by he was one of the top dogs when it comes to fascism in history, and that would be none other than Benito Mussolini, who famously said fascism should be more appropriate, or should more appropriately be called corporatism, because it is a merger of state and corporate power. This, what they're doing with inner development, SDG, ESG, and the P3 is creating that. It's creating exactly that. Creating systems that monitor personal beliefs and values lead exactly to where you think it leads. We've been talking about it for a very long time. We kind of stopped talking about it because I don't know why. We just kind of have, and it's your social credit score. This is exactly what this leads to. If you enter school, because that's where you start in school. So if you enter school and your values and your beliefs are monitored through programs like Panorama and the digital backpack, we've talked about those before, but just in case you weren't here for that, because that was months ago. Panorama is a program which they are implementing in schools now, which will monitor your kid's stress level, his beliefs, his values, and how he feels about school. This is about getting to a deeper emotional feeling, belief type level. And they take these tests which monitor, track, trace, and store them in a digital profile for the kids. There's also another program called the Digital Backpack, which takes some of that information along with all of their schooling credentials, their education level, and the things that they've learned, store it in a backpack. So when they go and seek employment somewhere, that employer can look through that digital backpack and see how the student has progressed and what their values are, what they believe, what they know, their education level, all these types of things. These are legit programs that they are doing now, and it starts in school. Well, now we're starting to see how that's going to play a part when it comes to finding a job on the outside of school. You see how they're starting to connect now? If you don't have the right values, if you don't have the right beliefs, you didn't go along with the narrative that we wanted you to in school, there's no place for you at this corporation, because if we hire you, then we're going to lose money because we're not hiring people that are following along the narrative. You see how this social credit score is, they're programming it from school all the way up. Well, now we're getting to the up part of that. All throughout your education, they will track your mindset and if you're good enough for the job that you want when you leave school. But now that same system is being applied to work. So you've got Panorama, you got the digital backpack. There's some other ones out there that go through school, but now they're doing it for work. This is your social credit system where your own beliefs are now monitored, and they will affect if you can participate in society. We see the companies already getting involved with this. And so if we go through some of these, we can see a few of them. So I'm sure some of them you guys don't recognize. These are larger companies that probably own a lot more other companies and whatnot. But you can see some of them. Of course, you got the ones that we know, the New Division, 29K, X-Grid. You got the BMW Foundation, Nobel Peace Center, Templeton World Fund right there. That one is interesting because I've talked about Templeton, John Templeton, in the End Times New Age series, and how he was heavily involved with giving out awards and grants and money to anybody who's going along with a new age belief. And here they are with one of the institutional partners. But you can see some of those. They might be a little too small to see, but there's some ones on there. There's another page here, some collaborating partners. You got IKEA, Google, Stena is one on there. Volvo is another one. Houdini is a big one on that as well. There's some other ones as well, but more and more company, and these aren't all of them. These are just a few that they're promoting on their page. But there's more and more companies, because you don't even see Apple on there, and they were specifically talking about Apple. So this is getting pushed out into a lot of these corporate groups. Already 100 corporations are sponsoring this thing, and they are growing with colleges actively jumping on board. Of course, one of the first ones was Harvard. We've talked about how Harvard's all wrapped up in all this stuff too. Now, how do they do this? We understand what they're doing with Panorama and the digital backpack in school. How do they apply that to your work? How are they going to bring that about? Well, your digital ID and your digital wallets are going to be the key, of course, because those are required to all this stuff. And to attach your work evaluation on your values will be stored into your wallet. There's this thing that's, well, I'll just let you watch it and we can talk about it. Meet the Ledger.
Your Ledger account tracks everything you've ever learned in units, called EduBlocks. Each EduBlock represents 1 hour of learning in a particular subject. Anyone can grant EduBlocks to anyone else. You can earn EduBlocks from a formal institution like a school or your workplace. But you can also earn them from individuals or informal groups like a community center or an app. The Ledger makes it possible for you to get credit for learning that happens anywhere, even when you're just doing the things you love. Your profile displays all the EduBlocks you've earned. Employers can use this information to offer you a job or a gig that matches your skills. We'll keep track of all the income your skills generate and use that data to provide feedback on your teachers. When you're choosing a teacher in the future, you may wish to choose the teacher whose students are earning the most income. You can also use the Ledger to find investors in your education. Since the Ledger is already tracking income earned from each EduBlock, you can offer investors a percentage of your future income in exchange for free learning hours. Our smart contracts make these agreements easy to manage and administer. The Ledger is built on blockchain, the same technology that powers Bitcoin and other digital currencies. That means every EduBlock that has ever been earned is a permanent part of the growing public record of our collective learning and working.
This thing is brilliant. It's absolutely evil. But for what they want it to do, it's brilliant. Because how they're doing this is they're combining your work level and the money and comparing it to what you can get from a workplace or a school. And this works flawlessly if it goes out in a big scale, because you're going to have corporations and schools that are only willing to take on people who will benefit their corporation. And you're going to have people who are only going to work for places that's going to benefit them in some type of way. Anybody else who does not fall in line with the value belief level that they want, they're not going to A, get hired, or B, employees aren't going to want to work for that place. This system is the perfect automatic filter to make sure every workplace, every school, and every person is falling in line with the narrative they want, because everybody else will be thrown to the wayside because nobody's going to want to interact with them. This is actually a very brilliant system. It is dystopian and evil as all get out. But if they put something, and I'm not saying that that's going to be the exact system, that's just one of the examples that comes from the Institute for the Future. But that is a system where if they come out with something like it, look out. That is something I could definitely see being a part of this beast system, without a doubt. So keeping a full ledger of your learning, your accomplishments, your values, and keep in mind, they're already doing this for kids from first grade on up with their panorama and their digital backpacks and stuff. This will just get folded right into that as soon as they start going to college and into the workplace. And it will be kept in your digital profile, which will be stored in your digital wallet. This part of equity, and that's what they call equity, is this. This part of the equity, which is found in the SDGs and the IDGs, and is a tool and a system that is a part of the, and I'm not making this up, the Internet of Education. That's right. We've got another one. We've got another one. We have the Internet of Bodies. We have the Internet of Things. And now we've got the Internet of Education. This is legit, guys. Let's check it out. The Internet of Education. What is the Internet of Education and how will it change the way we learn, connect, and work? The Internet of Education is a global shared vision and movement for a learner and employee-centered future where every human on Earth has equitable access. There it is, to quality education and jobs. The IOE, Internet of Education, is built around 10 guiding principles. Those are the same principles built around SDG principles that galvanize a range of experts and stakeholders in the education and employment space to collaborate for solutions to existing inequities using emergent Web3 technologies. We're not going to get into Web3. At this point, it is heavily focused on the use of digital wallets. Digital wallets, as the name implies, are a tool that secures and holds a person's skills and learning records in much the same way as a physical wallet holds our money and credit cards. Using their digital wallet, a person can capture and validate the skills they have and also identify the gaps they have in order to achieve their desired goals. If you want to achieve their desired goals, you must go along with the SDG goals. They can then establish pathways to these goals like a career or learning GPS. Let's keep going. This has the potential to fundamentally change how we think about learning. Imagine, if you will, imagine a future where children can capture their learning experiences in a myriad of different environments. School, community centers, social volunteering, online gaming, caregiving in their family. Those are some of the same ones that we found in the Ledger video. Interesting. And that these are assimilated into a single place. The learner can then explore which learning approaches work best for them, and equally important, be able to validate their skill attainment to others through different approaches best suit their preferred method of application, their circumstances, and the contents or the context. Wow. There's a little bit more. Hang with me. Imagine a future where educators, now we're flipping it over to the educators or workplace, are able to trace the impact that they have had on a learner's journey, where they can specifically identify which teaching methods work best for which students and which approaches were most effective at enabling the students to translate learning into practice. Greater educator development and accountability. Imagine a future where employees are able to link directly with learners and steer their development directly towards, right here, future employment opportunities, and if necessary, financially incentivize learning cohorts to develop the skills that will be most relevant in the emerging economy. Greater employer linkage upstream on skills attainment and less gaps for societal development. Less gaps for societal development. This is the type of future we are looking to shape through the internet of education. When you look at the SDGs and they talk about equity, that's what they're talking about. We want you to believe and pursue our goals through this digital tracking and tracing thing. And if you're not learning, believing, or teaching what we want you to, we are going to stunt you from being able to participate in society. Welcome to the internet of education. Teachers or employers who don't teach the SDG values don't work. And students and employees that don't display these values don't work. It's the perfect filtering system where it happens automatically. They're not even the ones that are technically in control of it. They will filter themselves out through us. We will filter these things out if you want to participate in society on their own. You follow the narrative or you go hungry. Man, that's really starting to sound a lot like what we've been seeing this B system is going to be looking like, haven't we? What's fascinating about this is the same principles found in the SEL curriculum, which we've talked about a lot, which is the starting point for the internet of education, are very similar to the principles of the IDGs. I mean, they're almost spot on identical. If we take a look at this, these are the 5 acting principles for the IDGs. Being, relationship to self. What does that sound like? New age to me, right? Inner compass, integrity and authenticity. Openness with learning mindset, self-awareness and presence. Then you've got thinking and cognitive skills, critical thinking. They talk about critical thinking, but what they just, it's absurd because it's the exact opposite. Don't critical think what we're telling you. Critical think all the things that go against us. That's what they're teaching. Complexity awareness, perspective skills, sense making, long-term orientation, and visioning. Then you got relating, which is caring for others in the world. You got appreciation, connectedness, humility, empathy, and compassion. Collaborating, or your social skills, communication skills, red flag word, co-creation skills, inclusive mindset and intercultural competence, trust in what? You? Motivation skills. And then 5, acting or enabling change, your courage, your creativity, your optimism for a dystopian future, and your perseverance. Yeah, you're going to need a lot of perseverance if that's the game that you're going to be playing along with, because you're going to be hating yourself and the world that you're living in. So yeah, you're going to need some perseverance for that. So maybe that is a good thing that they'll be teaching that. But this is what they're rolling with. Now, with all this, we've talked about posthumanism. We actually just talked about it recently, last Tuesday. We've talked about the neo-feudalistic technocracy type government, which is you've got your kings up on top, you've got your peasants down below, and they're going to rule you with technology. This type of program, the IDG, as well as the Internet of Education, slides right in perfectly to those systems. A world of techno-godlike kings that sit above the peasants who have sunk lower than where God placed them. Also being wow, I got handwriting of a doctor. Being forced in values, beliefs, and genetics, gene editing. We talked about that on the post-human thing last week. To conform or be exiled. So either you're going to fall right in line with all these things which are going to lower you than where God originally placed you on the food chain, or you're going to get kicked out. You're going to be exiled. That's what they're going for. The only way I can sum it up is what a brave new world 1984 has become by 2030. That's the best way that I can sum that up, because that's literally what we're reading. We're seeing a combination of those books come into play. Now, the question is, were those books warnings or were those books blueprints? Something to think about. Back in October, So not too long ago, just a couple days ago, but back in October, they had their IDG Summit in Sweden that featured people from universities, corporations, philosophical groups, religious organizations, and the government, along with the UN. And we take a look at the IDG Summit here. The Inner Development Goals, the IDG Summit 2023, connecting the dots from inner growth to outer change. What, we got Tony Robinson up in here, which I wouldn't be surprised if he was talking at one of these things. Again, if you saw the End Times New Age series, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, let's keep going. Just to give you an idea, they got 3 days. They got the main summit event where it's like a TED Talk style presentation and all these things, art and sense awakening experiences. Y'all, I'm telling you, mystery religion is leading this thing like you wouldn't believe. So they got all that stuff. I find it funny that they actually did this at a building that's called the Circus. I think that's it fits more than perfectly. Day 2, you got the deep dive workshops where they're going through all the programs, going deep diving with workshops with top speakers at places that I'm not even going to attempt to try and pronounce. And then you got day 3, Afterglow Day, which is an open type of optional event where people can communicate and do different things. It actually looks like a church service if you look at these pictures on top. You got singers, you got a choir up there. It might be a little too small to see, but if you head over to the website, you can actually get a bigger view of it. But it looks almost like a church service, which, again, I don't believe in coinky dink. I really, really don't. So I think that fits perfectly. But if you're not able to physically attend that event, if you're not able to physically attend it, they had watch parties all over the place. Watch parties are available at one of the hundreds of IDG hubs that are available globally. They have hubs for the IDGs. Basically, they are designed to infiltrate, indoctrinate, and transform communities, cities, and countries with the agenda. This is what they do. They have hubs where they'll do teaching seminars. They'll go into corporations and teach there, as well as they go out into the community and teach there. So they're going out and they're being proactive to get this stuff out. So if we take a look at these IDG hubs, if I can get my mouse to work properly, there we go. The idea of IDG hubs and networks says hubs or networks are groups of people and or organizations wanting to support the Inner Development Goals initiative by 1, bringing people together around collective exploration and action, 2, helping ideas and good practices spread around the globe. Jeez. Sometimes it's really hard reading this stuff without laughing, guys. I'm just telling you. 3, supporting social innovation that enables humanity to deal with complex challenges. 4, building capacity and resilience networks. And 5, that's 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 5. Being organized around locations like a city and a region within a country and or a theme. They are there to infiltrate, indoctrinate, and transform. And like I said, they're everywhere. Current state of hubs and networks, they have over 400 hubs. This was from several years ago, so I would bet this is at least doubled since then. More than 400 hubs in, oh no, that was actually May of 2023. My bad. I was thinking of a different document. Don't listen to me there. More than 400 hubs in over 75 countries as of May of this year. That is my bad. I was thinking of something else. But if we take a look, they've got over 23 in the United States. There's a few there. You got them everywhere from Boston, Baltimore, Massachusetts, Miami, Syracuse, Wisconsin, Portland, San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, Denver, Sacramento, New York, all over the place. Keeps on going too. Connecticut, Santa Barbara, Reading, Manchester, Tampa. Yeah, that's just the United States. If you go on their website, you can find the entire list, and they are everywhere. Even places like New Zealand. They've got 3 of them in New Zealand. Tiny little New Zealand, and they got 3 of them. It's insane. I mean, this isn't just some little project. This isn't some small little thing that is just, oh, nothing to worry about or anything like that. You've got massive organizations, you got massive corporations, you got massive colleges, you've got digital technology, and you've got community hubs that are all pushing the IDGs. This isn't even just the SDGs. This is a program to get people to go along, not just go along with, but believe in and pursue the SDGs, which that's even bigger. That's even bigger. And that's not including all of the ESG stuff, the DEI, or anything like that. Beast System's on its way, and she's riding it in. But to put it simply, what is the IDGs? I mean, we've gone through all this stuff. It's all complex, but what is it simply put? The initiative, Inner Development Goals, is a nonprofit organization for inner development. We research, collect, and communicate science-based skills and qualities that help us to live purposeful, sustainable, and productive lives. The Inner Development Goals framework is fundamental in the work to reach the Sustainable Development Goals. Why do they do it? In 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals gives us a comprehensive plan for sustainable world by 2030. The 17 goals over a wide range of issues that involve people with different needs, values, and convictions. There is a vision of what needs to happen, but progress along this vision has so far been disappointing. We lack the inner capacity. We are the enemy. We are the problem, taking it all the way back to the first revolution written by the Club of Rome. We, the humans, lack the inner capacity to deal with our increasingly complex environment and challenges. Fortunately, modern research shows that the inner abilities we now all need can be developed. This was the starting point for the Inner Development Goals initiative. This is a spiritually led movement centered around getting people to change their beliefs and values to help bring about a spiritually led program. The movement is the IDGs, the program is the SDGs. Both are spiritually led. To truly understand the big picture, we have to view this. We have to view this. We have to view this from the spiritual warfare perspective. The problem is we continue to look at things from the surface level, from the political level, and we get absolutely nowhere but to a point of just being angry. That's all it does. When you look at it from the surface level, from how Satan wants you to look at it, from how the world tells you to look at it, you get to a point of just being angry. The Bible tells us to look at this stuff from the perspective of spiritual warfare, not political. Don't go along with what the world tells you to look at it. Don't go along with what the news tells you to look at it. Don't go along with, honestly, how some of these pastors tell you to look at it too. The Bible tells us to look at it from the spiritual warfare perspective. God dedicated 2 books or 2 chapters in the book of Revelation about this mystery religion, about the horror that brings about Mystery Babylon, who brings in the beast system, who establishes the beast system for the Antichrist so the one world religion can come about. That is where that big, giant, flashing red arrow needs to be pointed towards, is the one world religion. Because all of this is about that. The whole point of this, what Satan wants, is you to not worship God, but to worship him. And all of this stuff, all of the huge spectacle that we see coming out, all of the stuff that we talked about tonight has to do with that. Satan doesn't want you worshiping God. He wants you worshiping him. That's what he wants. And he's trying to drag as many people to that as possible. And so all of the stuff that we see happening as far as this government stuff and the political stuff and the technology stuff and the healthcare stuff has to do with that. That's not politics. That's not whatever you want to say the world tells you to believe in. That's spiritual warfare. And so if that's the goal and all this is to accomplish that, don't you think the thing behind it would also be spiritually led as well? What does the Bible tell us that is? Mystery religion. You can change somebody's politics at the drop of a hat. It can change 3 times a week. But if you start getting to somebody's soul and changing what they truly believe in their soul, boy, oh boy, that's hard to come back from. And that's what he's trying to accomplish with this. That's exactly what Satan is trying to accomplish with this. Having that understanding is key to seeing what is behind this and how this is all about that one world religion. So don't get caught up in the flashing display of news, and don't get caught up in what this politician says and what that politician says, because honestly, when you're looking at the politician, that includes Joe Biden. He's way down here. Like, you can't even see him on my screen. He's way down here. He's got control of nothing. And I know the talking point now is Obama control. Yeah, I'm sure. He's way down here too. He controls nothing. These guys are puppets. But we put so much attention and focus on these random talking heads that don't mean anything. We lose track of what we actually need to be focusing on. The spiritual warfare. And ultimately, that comes to getting people to Jesus. That is what we need to be focused on. Again, I start out the podcast with this. I end the podcast with this. We are in such a blessed generation. 'Tis the season for the rapture. We don't know exactly when, but I went over the points on Saturday that points to this is the season. And we are specifically called, specifically commanded to do 2 beautiful things in this generation. Warn people of what is coming. Why do we warn people? Why are we watchmen on the wall? Why are we to warn people so the blood is not on our hands? Because if we warn people of what is coming and how the Bible told us that this stuff was coming, they'll either accept Jesus on this side of the rapture and make it up with us, or they may remember what you said on the other side when the greatest revival of all time will take place. Not now. This is the time of falling away, but on the other side, they may remember what you said and come to the Lord on the other side. That's why we're called to warn people. That's why we're called to tell them, hey, guess what? The Bible said this stuff was going to happen. This stuff is happening. Get to Jesus. And that is the second thing, or first thing, honestly, in order, but second thing on my list is you get people to Jesus. We can't save. We don't have that ability. There's only one that can save. That's Jesus Christ. He even said it. There's only one way to the Father, and that's through him. But it's our job to introduce them to Jesus. Plant the seed and let God go to work. Use prophecy as a tool to do just that. Don't get so caught up in the political stuff. Don't get so caught up in the surface level stuff that doesn't mean diddly squat, doesn't mean baloney. I'd do a callback. Focus on the spiritual warfare aspect of this. And if we're going to do that, we got to know what we're up against. I suggest reading Revelation 17. It's honestly the most dangerous book right now for what we're seeing, but it's honestly the most least talked about. Again, I think that's something that Satan's at play on as well. It's something to think about. But if you don't know the Lord, you're watching this, you're interested, you want Jesus, you want to escape all of this before this stuff comes online or something like it comes online, because I never sit here and go, this is exactly what it's going to be, because things can change so quickly. But if you want to avoid that, then you get to the Lord, and it's simple. His gospel is so simple. Not as simple as what the modern church is tending to drool out of their mouths on their podiums like they are today, where it's just, hey, here's the story, say the sinner's prayer, and go about and do your daily sinner life. Like, it's not that simple, but it's not complicated either. Jesus said, be like the child. Have a childlike faith and a childlike trust in me. Not me, but him, Jesus. Simple as ABC. A is you admit that you're a sinner. This is the act of repentance. No, repentance is not a work. No, repentance is not something that you do afterwards. Repentance is coming to the understanding that you are a sinner, that you sin, that you can't do it on your own, and you need Jesus Christ. And so you turn away from your sin towards Jesus, and that is repentance. And in order to truly believe in Jesus Christ as your Savior, you must repent. So A is you admit that you're a sinner. B is you believe in Jesus Christ. You believe that Jesus is the one and only begotten Son of God, that he came down 100% man, 100% God. He is the God-man, the one and only God-man. And he came down and he lived the perfect, sinless life, the only one to do it. And then he took our place upon that cross. He died, and on the third day, just as he promised, he defeated death and rose again. You believe in him. This is not knowing the story and saying the sinner's prayer and going about your daily life. No, this is truly believing in Jesus Christ. This is between you and God alone. You repent, you believe, see as you call upon the Lord. That is that prayer where you cry out and you say, Lord Jesus, I have sinned. I am a sinner. And I need you, Jesus. I believe that you came down, that you lived the perfect life. And as the Son of God, you took my place as a sacrifice. You died and you rose again on the third day. Lord Jesus, come into my life, come into my heart, and save me. And you will be saved. Do it before it's too late. Do it before it's too late. All right, guys, that is it. Thank you guys for joining me today. Looks like we did pretty good on time. Woo. All right, cool. But yeah, so thank you guys for joining me tonight. Thank you for being with me. I always appreciate having you guys in here. So yeah, make it a goal. I say this all the time, but seriously, make it a goal. Try and share Jesus with at least one person. I would start out with, maybe one person a week, but I'd say one person a day. Try and tell somebody about Jesus. Even if they already know Jesus, who cares? It's always good to talk about the Savior with another person who believes in the Savior. So tell somebody about Jesus. Make that a goal. So, and yeah, be praying, of course, for Israel. Be praying for all those in the conflict, the innocent lives. Pray that through this, Jesus Christ is glorified and people come to salvation through him. They find Jesus through this devastation. Because I'll tell you what, God is so good that in devastating times, people come to know him. So be praying for that. And then, of course, be praying for the peace of Jerusalem, because when you're praying for the peace of Jerusalem, you're praying for his second coming as well. And of course, what happens before that? The rapture of the church. Yeah, good stuff. So be praying for that. And I think that's it. So, like, share, subscribe. If you guys can, get this out to as many people as you can. Not about views, not about butts and seats, but it's about getting the warning out to people, getting people to Jesus. Liking, sharing, and subscribing with how technology works helps do that. Follow me, Rumble, Odyssey, Telegram. Those are my backup channels. Rumble is my backup live streaming channel. Odyssey is there kind of as an emergency, but if you got an account, might as well follow me there. And then Telegram for anything in between. I post some, I hate the word, but exclusive stuff on there, things that I can't necessarily post on YouTube. I post on there, so make sure you follow me there as well. And if the Lord places it upon your heart and you would like to support this ministry, keep it going, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, Give, Send, Go. As you guys know, this channel is not monetized and it is run solely on your donations. So if the Lord placed it upon your heart and you would like to support this and keep it going, I truly thank you for that. And for those who pray for me, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. So, all right, guys, I'm going to leave you right here. You guys have a great rest of your week. Share Jesus with as many people as you can. Continue to look up. And as the world grows worse, the closer we are to going home, use that as encouragement. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you right here. Peace out and Maranatha.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.